Right, lecture 4, requirements of a forest harvesting plan, and some of the requirements in loading. What you can do is you can put the volume down. Huh? Hmm? So if you look at the scope, the harvesting plan or forest harvesting plan, it's a systematic strategy. It's a strategy. So whenever there's a harvesting plan, it's a typical strategy. It's a type of strategy aimed at sustainable and efficient extraction of timber from a designated forest area. In harvesting plan, it's a systematic strategy aimed at sustainable and efficient extraction. So kung baka nga na tubo-tubo matawi, before you go and extract, sili musukaw, tubo-tubo raw, so that you can maximize your output from that. That is the main concept of a harvesting plan. So before or during your conducting your harvesting plan, also what it does, it tries to reduce and address some concerns such as the environment, the protection of water, soils, including wildlife habitats, and even communities that are associated with that forest. Now, these are some of the requirements of the harvesting plan on page 13, I believe, or page 9, from 9 to 31, I think. These are some of the requirements that are there. The coup planning must be completed and submitted to the whoever certifying forestry officer. This is anywhere around Fiji. This is not only in Fiji. If you go to Vanuatu, if you go to the Solomon Islands, it's the same procedure they are following there. In New Zealand, Australia, it's the same procedure, but it's a little bit more complicated because there, majority of the lands are owned by the state. Here in the Pacific, our lands, the land is owned by the people. In Australia and New Zealand, majority of the lands are owned by the state, meaning the government owns the land. So the processes are different. However, in the South Pacific, Tonga, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, the processes are somewhat the same. Okay, it is required to be approved by a forestry officer. You are required before even you submit your plan. You are supposed to be able to understand the area, the groundwork, the area that you are going to harvest. Coops should be generally ranging from 30 to 50 hectares, not exceeding 100 hectares without approval. Now, I have also seen coops of only 9 hectares, 10 hectares, 15 hectares. What the harvesting plan is sharing is that this is a manageable size of area, 30 to 50, but you can also have 10 to 15 hectares. Okay, depending on the resources available. If there's trees there and it's only within 10 to 15 hectares, you can increase it to 30. You just have to work with what you have. So there are some coops that are 30 to 15, 10 to 15 hectares as well. Sometimes if it's too big, like 30, what managers usually do is that they can also subdivide it into two coops. It could be coop A and coop B, but both belong to one big coop of 30 to 50 hectares. That could happen as well. Now, this is an example of a harvesting plan before it reaches certifying office. Okay, so if you look at this slide here, what you can see is a plotting paper. Okay, a plotting grid paper. You remember in your surveying and mapping class, your plotting paper. This was done using the chain and compass. Okay, this harvesting plan was done using chain and compass, the compass and a 50-meter tape, clinometer. This was done using that. This time there were no GPS available. So this was done somewhere in Nameka, Thailand. They had to go at least 2 or 3 kilometers from the main road, walk to the site, and then start planning. Now, what you notice here is that these squares are your landing sites. Okay. Um, Notice that what they've done is during their plotting and saving is they've marked also a, a traditional archaeological site. This is Kungona Mbulimbuli. So this is their reference point. This is where they started their campus survey, and then they enclosed the boundary with the red. They closed the boundary with the red, and then they started laying out their landings. So the landings are generally supposed to be 40 by 40 meters or 1600 square meters. Okay, this is what we've already gone through last week, 1600 square meters landings. And your landings are supposed to be in squares or circles. Generally, in Fiji, you normally use squares. And what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to label our landings. So landing one, normally it starts from the end of the coop. That's where you're going to start. For example, if this is where you start creating your roads, your last coop will be somewhere at the back. If that is your last coop, that will be your first place that you start harvesting. Okay, you start harvesting from the back and move towards the entry point or the front of the coop. Now, normally the landings in the front of the coops, those are left behind for contingency planning, yeah? For wet weather coops. You normally only walk in these areas if there's a wet weather. Yeah. So this is an example of a plotting work or groundwork done before it is digitized and placed on a software before it is scaled down and printed on a piece of harvesting paper or harvesting map. Okay, so as soon as they reach the area, notice that there are arrows inside. What do these arrows indicate? Direction of the pulling, yeah? These are called skid tracks. So your skidder or your bulldozer, they will be the ones pulling the trees, and this is direction they will be pulling. So they'll be pulling from wherever the trees are towards the landing. Wherever the trees are towards the landing. Right? So in this process, the footing of the area had been completed with marking of the cultural sites or archaeological site. These are the log landings. Streams are also marked on the plotted maps. Okay, the streams, those are in dashed lines. These are the rivers and streams, major rivers and streams within that harvesting area. And then your black lines, those are your haulage roads. The black lines that you see here inside, these are your haulage roads. And notice that the black line is also running around the boundary of this area. Okay, this is a plotting map used in Nameka village in Teleu. So this is your entry point. The road moves along the boundary, and then your first landing is here outside of that boundary. If your landing is outside of the boundary, it could indicate that this piece of land is also owned by this landowner. Okay, since the landing is outside of the boundary, that means the owner of the two areas could be the same. So they have allowed it to happen. Okay, so this is your first landing here, second landing, your third is inside, and then your fourth. Notice that the roads, they are connected by landings. Okay, the roads, they are connected by the landings. They do not operate anyhow. They open to the landing, and from the landing they divert to the next landing, to the next landing. What could that mean? Or what does that possibly mean? If you look at the area, what does that mean? If they are only walking on top of the landings. Huh? There's a slope, and it could also mean that these landings here are located on top of what? If they are only walking on top of landings and the roads of on top of ridges, eh? This could mean that this area here, there's a ridge up there. And you can understand it because if you notice, there's a stream down here. Yeah, there's a stream here, dotted lines, right? There's a stream there. There's also a stream here. So this could potentially mean that the reason why they are walking on top of this, on the top of this area is because it's a landing, eh? Or it's because of it's a ridge stop. That's why they are operating on higher grounds. And also their landings are situated only on top of those higher grounds or ridge stops because there are streams at the bottom. Yeah, these are all the landings. So what we did in this process is when I was working as a GIS and harvesting planner in this company, what we did is I plan out the desk plan, and then I throw it out to the people in the station. Then they go out and then they verify, okay, we can put this landing here, we don't put this landing here. They will change it based on footing, on the ground footing. So normally what I do is I don't go to the ground. I only go when the harvesting begins. So I plan it, I give it to them, they go foot everything, they come back and say, okay, change this, put this landing here, move this road a little bit to the left, to the right. After that, then I do all the changes, I put it on the GIS software, and then print it out using a scaled paper, then give it back to them. And then the harvesting contractor follows them to the site, and the surveyors will show the harvesting contractor, this is where you start, stay between this boundary and this boundary, don't go out of this area. There's a stream down there, don't cut any crowns or trees towards the stream. That's the main process in harvesting planning. Ito lutak, eh? So normally nakando kailo na desk planning. Okay. Yung na redanga na contours, na streams, na rivers, so check sa tigul drawing. Kono ka nga kim do ka butsi do practice. Uti ando na gisulebi kono tamate ko na supervise. The must and ando na supervisor. If it's a company, there'll be one supervisor, or maybe the person who has a supervision license will be the supervisor. If it's in a land owning area. For example, this was a company. So in our company, we had one harvesting supervisor and two surveyors accompanying the contractor. So they'll go to the field and they'll say, change this landing, put it this side, the bulldozer can sleep here. This road here, move it to the other direction. After they do all the changes, they bring it back to the office. Then we do the changes. Then we geo-reference the map that they have brought, and then they take it back to the contractor. So in our situation, like nangona sa tikirin na planning kaya, so nangay sign your general manager, si CEO, si whoever, then that document is approved. Then and only the document is approved. Otherwise, it will not be, na harvesting will not commence. So the planning stage, it can take nearly 1 month, just the planning. Guys, sabihin nindo take na harvesting, for this area, before harvesting, we have to take one save. Even though we are leasing in the area, kito kota na save we landowner, bertanga bertore da kito sa planta kaoti, kito sa tigu barbar, na kambaningo sa na barbar. will also tell the landowner or to the company on a. And then there, the company will link to the landowner and asking them, like, if there is anyone available to be the wire boy, or if anyone there has a chainsaw operating license, they will work with the company. Okay? So normally the contractor, he only brings the machines and the supervisors and the where to operate, where to baru-baru pati kena ndreka u, karena ko ngame na matagal. That's in the company, in big companies. So, but in native harvesting, a contractor comes directly to the landowner. The landowner does all this work. So if the landowner doesn't know how to do this, kona ge hayataka and do a kuikila. Like for you guys, eh? If you know how to operate the GIS software, you know how to operate, you know how to read landscapes, they'll there are harvesting planners available in Fiji. Ortona gay map taka, it's it's people who do this, they are licensed. Eh? They'll map it out, then they'll go back to the landowner sign it, on a 60% approval from the Matangani, then they'll take it to Ministry of Forestry. It's a long process. Planning is a big process. Yeah. So I take it to Sangai plot takanan na 1:10,000 map. So after the ground footing work, we bring it back to the office, and then after the amendments have been made on the ground, then we bring it back to the office. This is the final digitized copy, and from the digitized copy, we make the final harvesting plan. So if you notice, if you look at this scoop here is on the boundary. So before harvesting this area, all these areas inside on the right have already been harvesting. Sa pre-plan take which to sa tikbu bar-bar mai kito ndo bango sa berani ado bono ya kito sandu tikbu plan takarao. Gaya ni boleh kena second last third last scoop sandu takarao na sibu bilan una metoso tungai continue. Because for example, if there is an 80,000 cubic meter demand, we can't use the labor to plan all that 80,000 areas or the areas that is supposed to supply that amount of volume. So we plan at least 5 or 10 coops before the harvesting season commences. And then during the harvesting process, these surveyors, they will not engage in harvesting. These surveyors, they'll just go out and just keep planning. Gay tosa juga na na harvesting sa complete juga na kita kata na pre-planned areas ili. Okay, so before we went to that area, these places here have been going through the harvesting process. Okay, so these are some of the requirements. Details required in a harvesting plan. You're required to have a 1:10,000 and a 1:5,000 map of that area. So, for example, if this is a harvesting gang, if you are a gang or harvesting contracting company, let's say if Iliviama is the harvesting supervisor, she'll have a file inside her Land Cruiser. Normally, harvesting gang, they use Land Cruisers and Toyota Hilux. Those are the only two vehicles they normally use. So inside her vehicle, there'll be a file. There'll be a 1:10,000, 1:5,000 harvesting map of that exact same area. And then the third page will have the list. Inside that list, it will have Vernaisi chainsaw operator. Chainsaw license number, Alini, digger operator. License number. It will all be listed down there. So when the monitoring team comes in, okay, normally in a harvesting in a company or in the government, Ministry of Forestry, you have the harvesting monitoring team, you have the surveying team, you have the mapping team, and all of these people operate together to conduct the harvesting plan. So the surveying team goes out, gets everything done on the ground, then the forestry officer goes, verifies it, comes back. The monitoring team, they will do the third part. So when they go into the harvesting, during the harvesting, or tunala ko nga ilivema, tarame na file. Hindi nga na file. Alini, license expired yesterday, but she's still inside there operating the digger. Same time, Boko Pandol. Suspend. The tax report, eh? The tax report, the tax report, okay, we will come to that. The tax report, Evango, the tax report is a document that signifies where the operation will start, the coordinates, and the bearing of your next coup, and the road alignment towards the next coup. Okay, na tax report ko Evango. Landing 1, landing 2, if there's 11 landings, landing 1 to landing 11, and then from landing 1 to landing 2, what's the distance of the road, the bearing, the alignment, what type of road. Kakide, I'm going to describe the inside the text report. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy work. I tell you, before GPS came in, before these softwares came in, before the QGIS, there was another software before that, Map Info. And that software was really hard to work with. That software was really hard to work with. The QGIS and ArcGIS, automate so whenever you start drawing roads, you can print out a report. It will give you the GPS coordinates of all the turning points of that road with the coordinates. Now map info, it did not do that. Magsam taga, ik mo nang takabo to by hand. No campus no protector mo measure by hand for like it. So it took months of planning. So the tax report, inside the tax report, so talaga making a list of all the people who will be operating. Harvesting supervisor, change operator number 1, change operator number 2, number 3, wire boy or Josh. Na wire boy ngongo na chuka boys talaga. Na yada na chuka boy. Na chuk, na kaira na job ka vera lako dreto sobu na keveli. So when the bulldozer or skidder reverses like this, he'll be the one pulling the cable to the tree. Choke the end of the tree. Mena besuko na kiveli. Chana vivi. Kona besuko nga step. O kona ge kaivi nga mai. O vi. O diga operate se o dia bulldozer. On takono na wins nang getege wundre mena lo. So for example, your bulldozer is somewhere 30 meters on top and the log is down. Okay. Koi di sombunga le besuka step side. Normally you don't go up or don't go down, you go to the side, eh? Sana nadidingan na side ako san tiga bundre, Andre, lako dake. Sana yado ni na as soon as the log reaches the machine, then the machine will move. He will stay there. When a stabilize takan on a track, will stabilize on the road. Okay, then he'll start pulling. Pulling as soon as it reaches the back of the machine, then it will move. The good thing about the skidder is sometimes it has 2 or 3 winches. This is the size of the cables attached to it. And this will be the person pulling that cable. Now, requirement of the harvesting code is that cable should not be less than 50 meters. So monitoring team, as soon as if I'm the monitoring officer, I'll come in and look at Ilviam. Return leseni set okwa ready bulldozer operator, dig operator, wire boy. This is the only person in the harvesting gang that doesn't require license. Machoka boy. But he might have a chainsaw license or what's that? Debug log making license. But normally in Fiji, this is the person that don't have a license. No, so most of the time he'll be down in the ridge, in the valley, down somewhere in the valley. And one nga balan do na bunikaw, re nga ko na didi may naka ko didi ken re isumtay. And normally these are very young people. So within a harvesting gang, you have your supervisor, and these are like the people that command the harvesting team. You have the supervisors. Then after the supervisor, it's the bulldozer operator and the skid operator. Everyone listens to these three people. After the two bulldozer and skid operator, then there is a loader. Sometimes there is a loader, or one of these two will be the loader operator as well. In Fiji, in those short mata, the bulldozer operator is also the digger operator, and the digger operator, the same person, is also the loader. Nangona nga papunta ko na lori nga yan, repo takatali na sombil. Do what ya, eh? So inside, whenever or wherever the person is or the team is harvesting, you need to have a supervisor, a group of licensed operators, and fit licensed operators. Then you're supposed to have a standby vehicle. Requirement of a harvesting team, eh? You have to have a standby vehicle. If Ilivema lives with a Land Cruiser, another vehicle has to be there to stand by. You cannot operate without standby vehicle. Okay, if the standby vehicle is not there, the only work you can do is just loading, unloading. You can't cut any logs or anything without the standby vehicle. Just imagine this. You go into the harvesting area in the morning, Iliviama comes with you. Iliviama is the one taking everyone inside the forest, okay? After 5 minutes, you guys start operating. She has to run to town to get some more fuel. And then something happens to Anna. Anna is change operator number two. And the vehicle is in town. Nalingay Anna sa lilito bango. Kung baratan lingan, lilito mo na lingan. Okay, if there's no vehicle there, what we're gonna do is still gonna wait. We're gonna wait for the vehicle. That is the reason why you always need to have a standby vehicle. Eh? Without the standby vehicle, you cannot operate. You cannot operate any machine. Mm. Safety. That's safety. Eh? Safety policy. So the requirements, the boundaries of the harvesting coops, compartments, buffer zones, management zones, catchments, reserves, archaeological sites, they are supposed to be marked out on the map and on the ground as well. Okay, underground and overhead lines, water, sewage, electricity, telecommunications. Nakakita kami low rate We were operating in Sirwa. Where is that? The Osura. Into Koro Sura. And along the road, ito kikina na 1 libo. So we all know that electricity lines, they don't follow the road. Eh? They run straight. So from the junction, uh, Vunaniu village. Before Vunaniu, there's a junction to a hotel. It's called Man Friday or something. It was a old hotel before. Opposite the junction is the road towards Suras village. Now junction I think we kana libo. So whenever we started harvesting anywhere close to that coop, we have to alert EFN. We are about to harvest. They have to come and they'll show us, okay, from this area to that area, you don't fell any trees there. So all the trees standing in that area, you'll have to leave it. So that is the reason why we need to demarcate electricity lines, sewage lines. Imagine you're operating your digger on top like this, and then the ground suddenly collapse. You run around on tamani sewage line level. Okay, locations of stream crossings, your haulage roads, your skid tracks, your loading locations, these are supposed to be marked out on that tax report. Harvesting plan must also summarize consultations. Sometimes they even attach images. Consultation go. Sa plan te kiwati sember ni tiga na barbaro. Lakaraw na kor. Taksib ko kaya me. Yana consultation. That is what you mean by consultation. So Fiji Pine and Fiji Hardwood, they do that before they harvest an area. So during the consultation, natuko na forestry or harvesting officer, this is the area that will be harvesting. This is the assumed stumpage cost that you will be receiving. This is the harvesting team that will be cutting the forest. These are all the machines they have, and these are the cubic meters that we will remove from that area. So everything is transparent, eh? Kila choko to kingele, kila ukambani, kila talchungo contract. Okay, for Fiji pine and Fiji hardwood, normally they do not have EIAs. And EIAs are environment impact assessment. Okay, on social media, you must have noticed there was one company in Yarawa. Ministry of Environment made a video on Facebook that Ayub something transport from Yarawa wanted to harvest mahogany somewhere in Yarawa. And within those 7 or 14 days, solely nangalalabana public to come and view that EIA report, give recommendations or give suggestions. Okay. During the planning stage, digital to nga na EIA assessment. So some of you may become licensed harvesting planners, and those of you who do not like to cut trees, you become environmental impact assessment consultants, EIA consultants. In big companies, imagine this: one of these EIA can cost a landowner around $6,000 to $10,000 just to run an EIA. 6 to 10,000. Sometimes, most often, EIAs are required for big projects, eh? Big projects such as road development, hotel development. For harvesting and this kind of land-based activities, they normally use an environmental management plan, EMP. So the EMP is not as expensive as an EIA, and it only covers, an EMP only covers small developments, small type of developments. It does not cover big developments such as hotels, bridge construction. Yeah, nakakeda, it is under the law, the EIA must come with it. But for harvesting and all those things, normally an EMP. Okay, what if your harvesting area covers more than 200 hectares? That situation, you will need an EIA. Even if your harvesting area covers or is along an area that you have to cross a stream which is more than 30 meters wide, that is where you need an EIA. Nangona nga iko sa tikabu alert ta ka na environment that you're going to do a big land movement or big construction, you need an EIA. If you're not going to do all those major things, sometimes you need only then an EMP, Environment Management Plan. So this is what an example of footing or groundwork. This is in Andarivat. So what we do is, this guy here is already marked. This is the officer on the ground, already marked out the landings and the trees not to be removed, the skid tracks. So normally what we do is we go verify, we check everything, then we come back to the office and then start entering it into the GIS software. Now the GIS software, where it's like a collecting system talaga, eh? So for example, if Makilisi does one harvesting plan, Ilivema does one, Grace does one, and I'm the only central harvest GIS officer, all these 3 plans will be inside my software. So if someone asks, hey, so nreta na harvest plan ni William, siya nga sintikin doon na harvest plan. Kung siya nga na license, sulipi ko. Okay, nreta ni Grace. Grace tunggo na na but eh. So the person who is in the ministry or the coordinator in the company has all the plans in their system. This is an example of a tree that's not supposed to be removed. Inside forest areas, sometimes there are trees that are called heritage trees. Heritage trees, these are big size trees, old trees They have served for wildlife management. They are historically they have historical significance. Um, Sometimes they are endemic native species. So these are called heritage tree. We mark them, Congo Sintare. Don't remove. They will be the residues, eh? They will be the trees that will be left behind. They will be the residue and also the seed stand for the next few generations. So if I'm not going to plant that area, that tree is going to provide the seeds for that area. Again, the color code, we've already gone through this, eh? This is gonna come in your exam. Yeah. Okay, so what's gonna come is example, eh? All of this column is missing. Everything in this column is missing. So the field color and the field symbols will be given here, and all you're supposed to do is red line. Remember, this is not a dotted line. A red line, if you have a color mark or something, draw that symbol. On the ground, it's given a yellow rectangle. On the map, it's a brown box. So you'll have to write brown box and draw the symbol. This is what I meant when Alini is driving the bulldozer. Yeah? And just chok ta kamera na tuloy di ikaw. Ko sa vanta poro inise ko na fail the tree, keep moving. Okay, that in a harvesting gang, everyone knows their job. So Ilivema, majority of the time she won't be out there harvesting anything. She'll be standing on the landing, controlling the movement of the machines. So the chain operator ngono nga ko vambale ang tapong ko so next tree, next tree, next tree, next tree. Waya boy bati ki bulldozer operator no to so ba to. Ngono nga ribesa ni video just na cable ko kami. So if it's down in the slope, if it's down in the slope there, this guy here has to be standing somewhere there. Para chok takaraw na bunikaw, the bulldozer will not move. If you notice, look at this area, or look at this footing. So as the bulldozer is pulling the log, if it's a big tree, kona take a skid talaga. Nangona skid kina ya kwa sa pantambera ta sa tuga no na foundation. So nangona ko skid kina sa skid nga na ko sa na tuban do. Nga indre na log ya sa na sinto sa na bulldozer. Andre chuk mina log ko sa steady mina betul. Andre sa bulak saranga may na misini. Okay. In harvesting, this part here is called the A-frame. You normally see bulldozers, eh? If you normally see bulldozers around the area, not all of them will have these behind the bulldozer, behind the machine. This A-frame is a specialized instrument for tree felling or harvesting. So what this frame is here for is nangonaya the mechanic, when this log reaches this area, if he continues to pull the chain or the cable, this log will not be down here. Okay, so what is the reason for having the log up there rather than skidding it as it is like this? Roro can alundre, one, Roro can alundre, and number two. Batas doesn't disturb the story. Sometimes I go in siendo na buni kauliw. 100 centimeter diameter. Okay? Na if she's a tree, the base of the tree, na panera vatungo na kinakali. Okay? Okay, yara ta tu mena tulo ni Congo, munga yara ta tu mongo indele nigel. Ko ya bat no sa to sa tu na bulldozer ako nakataka ko na pa lang to na delen gele ya sar na lebe. So normally what we do is pull it close to the machine, lift it up. Sa gendre. So when it's pulling the log, the crown and the branches and a slide to nga ko na singa ni ndo na dumungkele ka ko na slide to nga din. That is the main reason for having your winch and your cable at least 50 to 60 meters long, you have your A-frame there, and you have your wire buoy. Now, in high or rough topography, we normally use bulldozers. Okay, because of this. Ike ke vaga idhithi na taya sa skid tunga. Nakata ke midhithi na trek. Na trek ko ngamuta minaka na ngeli. Base minak sa itoso. These kind of areas, the tires, skidders do not work. And then you have road access. What's the width? Normal width of a road area or clearance area? As mentioned in the harvesting code. Anna, what is the required clearance width of a road access or harvesting road access? 5.5 to 6 meters, eh? That is based on what? Which instrument in the harvesting site has this width? Blade. Your bulldozer normally has that width blade, eh? Kung missing ako like ngo. Look at the size of the machine and look at the size of the blade. 5.5 to 6 meters. Minor roads, 3.7 to 4.5 meters. Trees that are blocking the road alignment need to be removed. Trees on the side, don't remove them. The main reason is this. Look at this area here. This area is sloping downhill. Imagine if I remove these two trees. Nanggele. One ito niuda. What's nga to niuda? O sana siya grawat wando tal nito rumah na pano. But sana sisilim nanggele ka. So as a harvesting team, you work during the time and also try to think in advance. Kaya baka umusukan ko kung ano nakaran niya. Okay, these are some of the research that have been done or had been done in forest harvesting areas. So one of the previous research by the document link is given down there. The publication is read optimal forest road density as decision making factor in wood extraction. Yan title ni publication. What it says is the optimal forest road density was 30.49 meters per hectare for an average extraction distance of 81.99 meters. That is the optimal forest road density in wood extraction. Okay, so for every 81.99 meters of road you make, you have a road density of 30.49 meters per hectares. Landings need to be at least 150 meters away from each other for felling and machine efficiency. Skidding distances should not exceed 200 meters. This is what you mean by road density. Another road density. Rupeni gave us that statement. What is road density and the answer? Never? Length. Yes, eh? Or in other words, the area. It's the length and the area of a forest road per hectare. So 30.9 meters squared is the on average. If it's a good harvesting plan, on average it will cover 30.9 meters squared per hectare. So we all know that the harvesting roads that machines normally travel on is 3.3 meters on average. Haulage road is 5.5 to 6. So if it's 3.3 meters average width, and you have, let's say, 1 kilometer of road inside, you multiply 1 kilometer by 3.3, it will give you your road density. We've already talked about this last week, eh? Cut and fill. Camber, the shape of the road. Normally, this is not the shape of the road in any area. The shape of roads is normally bakatun na hampi tilom dun. Emeren in ron ronaway, stable binatala in the center of the road. If you're going to cut the side of a slope, push it down to the loose side to fill that area. Meron ni flat binakanangon salango. Okay? If you cut and don't push it down, your road width will only be this much. If you push it down and stabilize it on the lower side, you'll have an extra width for road movement. This is a berm. Sometimes, not sometimes, all the time every time when a D6 bulldozer runs on the side of the slope, cut and fill, kung ang building at suko pang na, kami doon na barrier ng building at suko. Okay, on government road, you can narita na kukame dito na side. In this kind of harvesting areas, nambito ko na berm, kasi nga na super elevation. Okay, if you notice this road does not have a super elevation. Sini elevate ko bang ano unsang? Sini elevate. So rather than elevating it or tumbita na berm on the side. Nadabo na yang ni berm ya. What is the benefit of that? Iba ka didi sa mo alini lose control. Tongka nga go birre ko. Kasi kaya ali ka na birre o alini ito ni sa ulo ali kuno nito. Dalawa ya buel in retamil. This is what you mean by super elevation. Eh? If you're going the side or bend, the outside of the bend will be tilted a little bit on the top. Gradients of road, maximum distance between drains and meters. In meters, for low erodibility soil, these are clay soils. High erodibility soils, these are sandy loam soils. Okay, this is the required distance in meters. And this is the gradient or slope of the soil. We've already discussed this last week, I believe. So that's lecture 4. And now we have lecture 5. Sada o ano? Yeah, lecture 4, week 4. Okay. We will not discuss anything here. I'll just go and then tell on to you. Don't do any reading. This is lecture 5. This is where we learn about the machines, how to harvest efficiently, types of machines you use. We will discuss things that we use locally and some of the machines that you do not use locally, such as helicopters, yada systems. Go anay, or tumikandabu, or to siya bang tachungang. Iyo. Wano na nga to siya bang tachungang. Kasi ngono sarang iliw eh. Ya, orto may kandabu. Orto may nandro nga go sila ka pa. Okay, so before chainsaws, before the na ibaro man nga cross cut saws. Sometimes you normally see in movies the rota mata operita ka tun reto mo ni ko. Ayo, do sandao inisio kero ga in reto ni ba. You sembera ang gosara na kara mga taga tu. Matau kinasel ka ba. Kasamta ka nanguna ni no no na kwarto tu na logo ko the aki. And imagine the size of the aki and The number of trees that he had to X. Tell you the X. As we discussed, nangono sa plan taki what's in a harvesting site, salita ka na sebo-sebo. Nanom do job tala mo do sa view sign ni ngun sala. Sign at least 100 meters, 50 meters before approach in the road, before approaching the area, and mambiyo to na sign. Nangon sa langgo, sa tikbo mga takichikin kanimusukaw, you might expect big trucks moving in and out. So, mamaluan ni ko sa wala ka. Slow down. Non allow politics in government harvesting code of practice. Failing should not occur where average slopes exceed 25 degrees over a distance of 100 meters. Okay, so within 100 meters, kay set to go 25 degrees, siya. Okay, guys, see na 100 meters ya 25 degrees ya say luto nga above the 25 degrees ik mo santik bu gangaron ni. Nasara mo sa kuni barba. Gomanda nga 0, 45 go. 25 na view check na ko na ilong. Stump height should be or stump height greater than 30 centimeter is acceptable where butt defect is obvious or if a buttress exists. For pine plantation, stump height should be as low as practical, close to 15 centimeters. 15 centimeters. Show me what is 10 centimeters. How does 10 centimeter look like from the table? What is 10 centimeter? Huh? 10 centimeter, this much, this is 10 centimeter. If this is the ground, this is 10 centimeter. No, around 10 centimeter is here. This is 10 centimeter. So imagine if you are running your Land Cruiser and your Land Cruiser walks over the stump, can you go over it? If it's 10 centimeters? Yes. Eh? Imagine if it's this much. No Land Cruiser dito nga may maybe walk over it. Yeah, sarang na main reason no stump height mendo you need to have it as low as possible. That's one. Efficiency. Number two, nanguna kaya bagi ko na biya plan tayo kanto naman sala. Iko pa ka mga na stump height ako lutso. Manano mo pa ka matong na stump height libang. For trees that have buttresses, yeah, baka nabu ni ibir na buttressing, it can be greater than 30 centimeters, but as long as you remove the buttressing. Remove the skirts, outer skirts of the buttress. Okay, for hung-up trees, Winston ada mana mana hit the give na one of Winston 2006, 2016. 2016 ya ina sorry Highland buno lebu ikandabu lebu sarto ko na bunika ko ram baliran to bongo. And those kind of trees they are a hazard to human. Samta ki ko pasa sa buwa katu kay bali to bongo na bunika. Wala kasarangan kang galang man to na thain ko kung kay biling sa bumay. Eh? Isang bibig nga bala ito na tuloy ni Pinel. So those are what you mean by hang-up trees. Hang-up trees, nandun may mga takin na misi ni may bebuki. Di kwento mo. Okay, whenever you are felling a tree, fell it on the reason for using directional felling may kung ani luti way. Don't fall on rivers and streams. As a harvesting or a chainsaw operator, you have to have situational awareness. Okay, sometimes you have your chainsaw, you're looking at the tree, sambal raw to na po nikaw. Let's say kung remove ta ka na stump, or you want to remove the end of the scuff ta ka may square, may flush. You notice the tree is lying down peacefully. Nasinto na kanaya to. Sa ano mo barbar to halfway through the middle. Sa tigbuya pa pala na tulon ikaw eh. This tension on one end sa tigbu bang. Iko kere na branches kede ko ra olor kito ibuto di bunuka sa tigbu kame move. Sa tigbu release na branches. That is what you mean by hazards. So whenever you are in a harvesting area, always be aware. Sometimes you can kinatalan na kawil lapit tumungon ka mo vedek. E tambu ya. In sloping areas, always look out for tension and compression wounds. Even these small diameter branches, this can break your bones if there's tension on it. Ibu kan na tension bina tu na diameter lili mo vitali mo na ni pasi. Sambida na linga mo gota kamusuruan no mo. What do they call this bone? The femur. Where is the femur? Ni mai ke? Mo thigh bone, Congo? Tibula siya tabi. You're looking at your arm, it's big, eh? The bones inside is this small. Remember that. Hernando Barbar normally inside their belts they have their wedge. Nandra erna kotara tu tiker nandra galon ni benzini way. Na wedge do banga nga ke baka iko senga skilled eh. Normally if you see a person using wedges inside the lomani bononi biko lomani borokau ya kin mambal ko senga tiku. Ko senga tiku barbar. Erna barbar lomani bi mahogani bi paini. Er sa kilabi na to na skat tava merda ka mete ko membal na buniko. Sometimes you gonna read er na par to pongo se dur tunga na buniko. Sa ta ko china first cut kona angle ata kana back cut na buniko se dur bina to wa fancy tunga lagi. I check sana game bita na wedge to kia na wedge mesa gay tilt membal. For skilled operators, they know how deep to move the first phase cut. This is what you call the phase cut, eh? How deep your face cuts need to go and how deep the back cut. Your face cut or the first cut will determine the direction that you will fall or the direction the tree will fall. Normally, if while you are conducting your face cut, example, in this situation, you've conducted your face cut, right? No face cut doesn't no angle. The bar of your machine is somewhere here. Which part is the bar? Is it this part that you pull or the part that you hold? At the back, which part of the machine is the bar? The bar is the handle that rotates from the top to the side, on a metal handle. That bar, ako na guide tigi ko na direction na dabu kinalabunikaw. So normally, if the machine is like that, 90 degrees, your bar will be adjacent 90 degrees to the direction of the fall. So if you've placed your scarf and this is your back cut, this means the tree will fall in this direction. Okay? For this tree here on your left, look at the bar, it's facing that direction. So if you're releasing this tree, probably it will fall towards that direction. That is what you mean by directional failing, eh? Okay, some of the machines that we use, power saw or the chainsaw, machine ko sa nibang activity, na tanong ko na fail a bunch. Pues ang taling kita kalaki kya o Diyos, batiki anang. Aro sa taling kita kalaki. The disadvantage of these machines, na manually basa siyang, they will not earn income. Sa nandungan na tamata earn income, the skilled person. So this machine operator, kaya warot na bunikaw, kaya banda por, sanggay remove takatalang na ba. Muna ya santung ni biro na biyo kanin ko merusa faster nga iba. Those machines, they are used in North America, in Europe, Simbera Beach. Sangat ko na dilimbers. Na missing go nakakota kabuko lapit ta kengana log, remove the back, sa var sa na size ta ko remove ta katala na branches eh. So if there are branches, ko na remove the branches, the limbs, it also can size the logs. This is the skida. The skida I valangi ora mangatakan na grepe muri, ko na am. Ibiting kay komen na misini an dua ruangan na singa na am ya litalang. Na size ni log sige biti sindra ni bang teki na misini bang. Sabi na nga o kona boy pati kina na wako kome. Ibit singo semberango. Maybe in pine plantations they can use this because of the size of the diameter of pine. In a native, you can't use this. This is too small. Go pinach sarang abir na natives. For others, go na specialized trucks, eh? For others, go they have the arm attached at the back. They load themselves and then they move. Specialized only for harvesting. In Fiji, we don't have this. Ausare do dua. Ako hindi ba na tractor, the farm tractor. Farm tractor I had the arm at the back. Gaindo na kya na tree mbalav me babundo logs. Ori nga bando ite osek talagi po rit. Talamisin ka. This is a masticator. So. Na job ni misini ko ako grind ta kasumungan na stump. Me flat to ground level. Go talaga sa ngats. Stump siya. Orto na Fiji pine sa tigibirto so na misini bango eh. Ko tara bangon do na log si short logs ko sa singra ni baro me ko. Basura kami kalalay imbita lo ni stove. Orto in Fiji pine tropic wood they use turbines to generate the electricity. Now turbine it's the energy that's generating turbine is heat. So whatever waste they get from the forest, to bir tagalo mani mill, kung ipakama na logs yang generate taka na kata-kata may dawir na fan. Na spin sarang ni fan niya kung generate taka na libuli. Go ilusar ibalangi ibich kento sintomang taka na system go. Timba rafting batana trains. Gondo bang taka bali berto may Canada eh. British Columbia. Waktu di bakangan na wa doon ako kami balab baka to na net. Parang gay para may da kerto dam takiway. Lak so bunga midir so bunga may tao kimdo may collect ni. Wag samta kay na chokus korna waya boy sira tal ngay way. They also operate on water. This is the A-frame that I was talking about. Eh? For bulldozers that operate in harvesting areas, they need to have this attachment. The A-frame and the winch. The reason why skidders and bulldozers are used in pulling logs is because they have this machine here or this attachment. Sometimes if you notice it, that attachment on the diggers will be just small. Eh? Na kinakata kami do trip take ko ngami, breeze take ko ngami kunut. If you are operating a rubber tired skidder, in snow areas they attach the metal tracks, metal netting on. This is a low density rubber tire or skidder tire. Okay, the difference between this tire and thinner tires, where rubber tires that are thin, they have a lot of weight that they put on a small area. Compaction is very high. For bigger tires, remember for wider tires, or to displace the weight of the machine. So this one is helpful to reduce soil compaction. Inare na kuera na taya coach ko berna nando to farm tractors go. Erna singara wanda ni operative ikaw. One is traction, lose traction, and number two, they increase soil compaction. Okay, what we have here, these are some of the skidding patterns. Okay, these are some of the skidding patterns that we have in harvesting. You have the starburst, random mulak nga babi talia. Sangay chiko na peril kena radial. In Fiji, we are using this the radial system. Everyone drag to the landing. And then you have this herringbone pattern. Herringbone pattern, there's two machines operating. One drags and place it on the road. Sometimes go initial the bang takabaliw. There'll be a digger here on the side. Ako nakara ka ko scoop tanga may na log zira bir taga na line. Na line don donu. Scoop tanga may na bir taga na line. And then the skidder goes and pulls from that area. Pulls from that area. That is what you mean by the herringbone pattern. Which can to say operate again. Because either only the bulldozer or the skidder will be there. No two machines. Lebunango nanduang na machine taka. Go ibalang yan na cable yades. Nabi main dala nandun na tao. Didi sumpu na cable. Ko sa gendre that nga using the tao. Kongo ndo nango na bang teki arawa. Ibiyo yarawa. Chikibiyo yarawa. Na buah, na raw flat. Kono buno ndo kel tikin vali na opisa. Porto ndo traffic. Ndo nango na test teki kina. Porto test teki bichi na cable yadi. Gailuray ni na way mga takime tosya nga itulo na logs. Tosya nga itulo na logs. Na amount of fuel that was used just to move 3 logs. Era wani ko harvest ka na whole landing. Buta benayat. Transport. Na amount nga na the price of the fuel of the helicopter. Tatu kinsa na ikarot. What type of machine is this? If you look at it, it's not a bulldozer. It's not a skidder. What is it? The dragon. Dragon. John, what is the main objective of this machine? Well, load, eh? So it's a loader. That means it's a loader. What type of loader is it? Pincer? Pinching loader. And whenever you see this is called a grapper. Grab. Grap. Grapper. Grapper. Kaya grab takang analogs. Sometimes it pinches, or sometimes kaya pandaburo nga like ngay sumot. Kunin bali sumot. So this machine, it's a loader. It's called a tracked loader. How many of you have been to Bailey Bridge? Bailey Bridge. Kung sawmill ko chukoy Bailey Bridge. Noko. Fish market, eh? Kuna tumbal pa ko pasar raw na the loader that they have there is the same thing as this one, but they have the tire. That type of tired or wheeled loaders, you can't use it inside harvesting areas, especially in steep harvesting areas. Quando skid value. So nabonwa babasivan tabang taking na track loaders. Kongo suasot, sa kabando ni skid, sa kabando ni luto siya. Kwe taka taka tu benandile ni landing kunilang attack. This is a skid, eh? This is a smaller version. You have bigger ones as well. So kwe nandreta mena logi muringo, walilinga dhaki, just anagetik where. Sometimes 2 or 3 logs if it's small. This machine is called a, what is this called? This skidder has 2 plates here in the front. What is it meant for? Can anyone tell us what this bar is meant for? Huh? Brace, protection. It's meant for protection, eh? Netango kenda mito bili lomongo. Ki, kwenda biloma song na cage. Changa tabu kina misini. Kaya baka upside down mo na misin, gayali na na mo bango, pati kina na mo cage. Bili tumba mo katagi. Sambali bango na misini, luto ko iraga, mbika di ko tala na misini. Tunggali bang karay bil. Sambulu raw to bil. Sambulu raw to mga bil. So this is called a rollover protection system, eh? ROPS. ROPS. Rollover protection system. Go nangona kebaka falls in front. Baka me how keeps you away from the soil. Mikuni crush tagi ko na misini. This one yeah, so that you don't fall outside when the machine is tumbling over. Yeah, it's called a rollover protection system. Liu tama do patapu kita kana machine go. You kaya baka senga ni steady binaka. Do tala naka. The monitoring team, whenever they inspect this, there shouldn't be rust or weakened structure of the rollover protection system. Ngona sa tika bu rust nga napatya. Yeah. O drive ang bulu wata na missing. This blade is only meant for stabilizing and for bracing. It's not meant for pushing soil. So this machine here, this is a specialized machine. You can't use it in roading. Yeah, you can't use it for tindalo. You can't use it for any other. It's specialized only for forest harvesting. For loading, you can have your front loader with your grepper, or you can have a digger with the grepper as well attached on it. See, notice there that's a grepper. Pagkato ng bachini, bangkari si. No. Okay. This is a static grepper system. Up and down nga bang. Grep. Sangga chiko ko na hydraulic system. Grep. Roll taka bang. Can turn side to side. Excavators can also be used as loading machines. It's a more versatile and more steady. Then you have this. This is a bell loader. Kwe tulunga kenataya. Okay, operator kwe face this way, to the left or to the right? Which way does the operator face? Left. Right. To the left? Right. To the right, eh? Faces that way. So your front tires, you're sitting on top of the front tires, your turning will be done by the back tire. Go on a tricycle. Wait, totolo, it's fast. This is the machine that when you are on the lane, you have to look out for. Kwe totolo na kena operate and round it tip. Round a tip. But for loading, this is quite totolo sarang. Sini ngondo bang kita lang na sungko ni Indo. Erme India, mga tagang gona ngona ni Musundo. Kwe load takanando binaluri. This is a swivel grapple, eh? Kwe labi, kwe ni spin takatani. Now the advantage of this type here, especially is for grading. Okay. So if you look at this grabber here, it will only grab in the forward direction. And if it has to load, kona gay also load. Okay. Imagine if you're standing, let's say, pita tu like to mena kona ya, eh? Ko tu like to mena kona ako gay very than the other end. Nakakona taga buko na kadibi operator, wawa. But itong bali sanda. Recheck ta kana quality of the log that side. Now with this machine here, ako ay sangat taling itong bali sanda. Ko kira nga vi operator. Signal nga mo ko na kita wir takna log. So these are all the machines that operate within harvesting. Dangerous. These machines are dangerous. Nabuno nga operate kina very risky. That's why it's the second most dangerous job in the world, forest harvesting. Any questions? Any questions? Alin doon taro? Quando na matagal imisin ni bangit kimi chapan ni. Betong dola. Na root system ka kaya ko tabat. No sembera ibicin. Ito ibig siya awas ro. Ano biasa ni Gonzalo? Yun ang mga mga teksto. Reda nakatambot sa kabina luring ko. Rollover protection system tali. Dali tita. Pero kahit sa pa ni yeah, environmentalists, they don't like to waste or damage trees. Then you have your wheel loaders. Go may araw sa mil. Ginagawa. Wali wala to. Set. Tutorial. Yeah, tama? Anna wants to go? Feeling sleepy? I'll just open the tutorial and you guys do. You guys decide. What are some of the manual felling machines or equipments used in harvesting operation? X in the chainsaw and silicava. What are some of the mechanical chainsaw na mechanical? Eh? Table. Manual talaga eh. Manual benches. Ya tahu? Não tava na winch. Yun na winch ko na misi ni ko attach kina na cable eh. Ber. Sanongo na naluri endo attach ti liu. Ya winch lalai sana. Ko tu ben the winch that is attached on bulldozers. Sanongo na kalita loken. Ko madanga ni 1000 kilograms endo na winch. Kinakali bungo diameter endo na winch. Attached in the bulldozer. This is the size of the John. Size of the cube. Simple to nga sa natartiki. When you talk about administration, administration in a harvesting team. Sa chiko ilivyama na dapo ko. Supervisor, sa ngay chiko tali orto viso. Na harvesting team mo just ko chiko sarira. Ako o choka waya boy ako the most unskilled person ako to sarira. What we say is unskilled, eh? But the waya boy ako chiko talaga na kila. Ilo mnibika uke baka visu ka bada waya boy na ko chuk takabada na log ko na ndrenga bole italu ndrenga bole italu so era chikitala na skill era chikitala na kila so ko skill yeah dona example ngo er sa kila bina katu na buno mera tambar kina na hook ni ndreani na cable ki some people they go from this side other side sa chuk takana log eh uchi na hook gai tamba bang ko saranga na system ya ko sing do bina kati eh kaya to may kya uchi na mu hook mo gai direct ngamit tatake bang Erdo the kabana web is na hook. They put it down and above. Eh. Baleta na bulldozer na ngona ko endre na ngona ko ne vengu tala ngona ko vengu e lutu wale le na chain. Na ngona lutu na chain na hook na bambutung. If you place it this way na ngona nga lutu na chain bu. Mo tala mo ko akati tala mai tambar tale. Ere nga baleta ke. Ko tala he's the most aware na awareness level ni choka waya boy sambo chuko binaksaran. Ko ni ndabu tu bada na log ko kila binaksar tu ngana buno mi bisuka. Ya baka mendre balile isandoya ko galak tal mi dange mendre tal. So he's the most the awareness level of a waya boy is very high. Baleta ko ay sangabi ko na chainsaw se da ko ay didi wala sar tu. So you have Iliviama, you have your bulldozer, skidder, your loader, and your truck drivers. Those are like yung ko pa kami na top jato lom doon sa harvesting team. Rajas. Supervisor, skidder, a loader, or a 12-wheeler truck driver. Sa isang gachi ko na bulldozer operator. O chirto na dya, sa gachi ko na small boys. Pero small boys ko o chainsaw operators. Era na chainsaw operators, hindi na nira small boys, era sabot na matakarasa na lubo. Bato era na narakakira na ka pa. Affecta ka wali mo na yung right? Rango indoli more than ampungi na lingan rango more than 5 years of operating a chainsaw your hand is start to shake. And then Nick sangay chikorto na small boy sarera. Pero kung do bimbo po nambong inangon sa lista na makyam. Normally once you have these people and then you have someone else at the end, ko isang sana ndo naka di ta kavtulog ni harvesting game. Ko wasang gawaling. Ya kuka. If you go to any harvesting gang in Fiji, there is one person on a job to ngana vising na wasang. Kuka. Yo keno yo kebagi korita mamalua na mbula ni Chimia ya pato satu ngavi ko eh. Mata pakai bangun sih tekior tuh nama tak ya. Eh, malam-malam na ako. Bertumbuh lah tuh satu galingan. Correct. That is how an administration team or harvesting operates. Oh, ilivyo ama ni supervisor ngona ka kwa na reda. Kwa baka ndo na chimni rakabi, kwa na study taga to na chimni. O supervisor no na taga tango ke baka reda ni change operator musik ndo na lingana sin ndo na kaya kwa na badingi. Kaya ko may ndambe kisanga ako ina kyan. So harvesting supervisor ni kulit training ben harvesting supervisor ni ko 2 weeks training. Iko sanga niyo training amo kinta pa na operation. Ano mo training na involved ta na OHS at na first aid. Kakailan ko na training kina. Iko na pa ibola ba na ruwa na ka. OHS, first aid, and harvesting supervision. So with that, you will learn about not about the basic or small type of harvesting. Iko na andra ba saranga na tamata, how you deal with people, ano mo vital no communications. Iko na buli na communications in harvesting supervision training. So na job nga ko ay may kota bata men na ching. Minga improve ta kana productivity. Makasamta ke baka kento ko chi ilivyama minga le virte ko bendo na bika minga tunu ko men supervise ta kana ching. Ko ya ke baka iko singini kila na kamata ka ni mire bongo no iko si on nga na ka. Eh? Ucha sa tik buto may. Irangana na supervisors they also look at the weather. First thing, they are the first people that reaches the forest and the last person that leaves. So normally in harvesting teams, era se mo itu mena kiamba na lima na kalo ko sa titibi ko. Kuli check ta kana gonsala, mamada susua, kon gelis tal mai okay, dukun sela mai do awa chenga ini kiri. Bare tabango, era na harvesting geng ibici, ngono nga sara ya bola tani misini biko ya sa tik buso. Kaya pakai retu ilo mini kiamba era seng nisu. So na planning kede ay cukup harvesting supervisor on the ground. Harvesting supervisor ko baka may namban dua sarang ani boss we. Ni Lucy bali mo nagkamba ni na mupsanga ilio. Oh, Diyos na sinimuk. Ko na uchi uchi sarang tamata may pasti kina matay sarang tamatan lo ko mayo ka. Ministry of Forest team na nga nila ko lida ka monitoring ani ko na sinibital na batikira na small boys. Ko na bital na nga batiki supervisor. Okay, describe how community consultation is important in a harvesting plan. Natapa na bosa babi chini tunga bango to kiningele li takatel dona kay lomna nangke kila to. Natapa na bosa babi chini. Chimudi tunga bango kono na ko to kiningele bena foya. Ko ele watu na foya. Kinto log ngai ni kinto sini kerem ko kinto log ngai ni to li niki duki to mga to li ta kosa. Ha? Bosa babi tinatap kena natap na bosa babi bal. Siendo na bosa babi tiyan to pang tager nang gas makao. Kalau wadin to naka. Kalau wadin naka we. Asar ngango ko na situation. Asar alak may benam tagali situation pang ko. Indo kalau wadin naka ya tunga to kinigele. Ayo list tu benon gele. Hindi na niyo list tu ko tu benon nandun muso ko yo nali baritak nga ko. Basta waro muso sinum dongel. Wali libu na nga ni indo seng ni indo kaya. Indo na kaya bagay to na kaya, kaya to lista libi. To lista li nga bi to kinigele kaya muso lista libi ko eh. To na matagal system eh. Kaya the second ibichi in the Pacific, some things that we don't see, that we don't believe. Yeah, taka chiko siya mana chiko sa nakaba. The land has iki. Example bena tarong go ilivya matali, lista liwe ilivya. Ke ko sa vivi na buana kalo ko check maybe kau. Ore da ni sana buno ya ngandre vi me blade teki me raw ni sab savana de lingon sam. For example, tau na uda na rona singa se singa na noa. Orto suka to tolma nge lise no ko na buana kalo ko so so to na de lingon sam. No na job sana ko mateni kami ta kapa. Kaya baka ko balay sini. Ko me blade ta karaw na ngun sal. Sangali kadi mo no na geng. Kasi nga matayin tamata mi ko ta may na bulldozer operate. Sama karaw de lingon sal. Papili brandel ni na din gele sangai di misi. So if you do that, what you're doing is you're preventing your machine from bogging up inside the forest. Muna nga bog na mo machine ni kasi ngira talaga ni talaga. So prevention eh. Before that happens, you do preventative measures. Sama karon ng sala, iwi ko reda nindo na bunika we sarui shade takabali na ngunsal. Lebu na nguna nier do tubuto na bunika le lebu kini ngunsal do musulebi. Meron do mamata tol kinangel. Yo, kaya bagay ko musu ka na bunika ko kay tuim bamba na ngunsal. Sis nanggel. So in that place, sana kay kinto na kay reke na ilibam. Ilibam malabi kinto takaw. Yes. Yeah, sana kay takaw experience. So road maintenance is not only technical, ko experience tayo. Oh. What is an EIA? Okay, so what I want you to do is during your free time, read about EIAs, read about EMPs. Can anyone search on your phone when is an EIA required in Fiji? John, I wanted to search on your phone. Search for EMP. What standard of development do you require in EIA and what standard do you require in EMP only? Okay.
Quite for any activity like to alter the physical nature of random
Alter the physical?
of random ecosystems, including construction of buildings, roads or other works, dredging, or land reclamation, mining or drilling for minerals, removal of sand, coral, shells, seagrass, or natural vegetation, waste disposal from outfalls, vessels or other means, and large-scale agricultural or forestry projects.
Large scale, eh? When it says large scale meaning if it is going to alter the topography or the nature of the. Okay, look at the price here. Statutory fees payable to the Department of Environment include $242. That's just for screening and application. Followed by processing fees of the project, scaled by the project. If it's a big project or small project, this is the amount it can go. For projects under 249,999, that costs. Wow. Costs. Karena EIA Environment Impact Assessment Consultants, they are registered consultants under the Ministry of Environment and Climate. So for example, if someone here graduates and you want to be a consultant, you have to register with the ministry and you have to show your credentials. I have a degree and orto na test before you become a consultant. And then EMP.
Before you construct it.
Okay, or the Ministry of Environment, they will determine if you require an EIA or just an EMP. So what they'll do is they'll come to the site, they look at all the machines that are involved, they look at the people, they look at the proximity of the project to a village or to any cultural site, and they'll say, okay, you don't need an EIA, you only need an EMP. So for example, Dona Tarong, this landowner is giving you 5,000 hectares to harvest. Now, 5,000 hectares. Would you require an EIA or an EMP? Would you require an EIA or EMP? Hands up if you say EIA. Hands up if you say. Be confident. Hands up. Say EIA. Okay, 1, 2, 3. John, Oiko? EMP. Okay, hands up if you say EMP. 5,000 hectares. 1,000 or 5,000 hectares? 5,000 hectares. Would you require an EIA or an EMP? EIA? Okay, what if you break it down into small 30 to 50 hectares manageable units? EMP. Okay, this is where your mind needs to start working. Eh? And EIA, if you're going to cover 5,000 hectares, remember you pay it only once. Okay, but you go the government EMP, for this block, you would need one here. For this block, you need another one. Okay, so when it comes down to the size of your pocket. So in that type of situation, you correct na numu funds, numu capital, correct talang na area. If it's a good, flat, not too steep area, apply for the EIA one shot. If you know that it's going to be, it's a big area, but the productivity and efficiency is not going to be that efficient, just apply EMPs. Na puno ngay correct sa singari operator li, ya yung sana pull out. Nung EMP ya ngay kya list. Okay? Rather than paying for the whole thing and then you can't harvest the whole thing. Yeah. So that kind of situation, nangkita ka tayo kinanambik yung limik. Yeah. Mono ya ikusan kay waksam tangan. That is where you will need your brainstorming skills like Anna. Look at Anna's face. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Grace, any questions? Is there anything you would like to share with us this morning, Grace? Olivia, what did you learn this morning? Just one thing. The role of the what is one thing that you learned this morning? Just one thing. Mention one thing that you have learned this morning. Anything that comes to your mind. Doesn't have to be fancy. The job of the wire boy. Eh? Okay. Anna. Anna was the first person inside this room. Anna, what did you learn this morning? Can you tell us? Around more than 50 meters, eh? 50 to 60 meters. So what will you do if you enter the forest and you check that the wind is around only 20 or 30 meters? What will you do? You're working in the Ministry of Forestry, what would you do? If you go in for a monitoring activity, and then you check the bulldozer, the length of the cable is only 30 meters. It's only 30 meters. What would you do in that situation? William Lichimbi. Okay. In the first place, why do you require the cable length to be that long? Hmm? Why do you require the cable length of a bulldozer to be at least 50 meters and above? Alini? OHS, eh? Just an example. This is the tree, and this is Greece, Libya. The cable is this long. Sambal na ni Congo, okay? Or maybe yeah, the tree is standing here and she is parked here. So let's say if it's around 20 meters long only, and there's a tree standing there, and she has to pull a log behind the tree. When she pulls the log and it hits the tree and this tree falls down. If it's 20 meters, this tree will fall directly onto the top of the cab. Okay? If it's long enough, the tree will fall somewhere short here. Also, the second reason is this. If you are sitting on top of a ridge with your machine grease and your tree is down there, let's say 150 meters away near the creek, and you are not supposed to fell the tree towards the creek, how will you remove the tree now if you only have a 30-meter cable? In that situation, you will have to go down the slope. It's risky. So if you have something longer than 50 meters, you can just stay there and then pull it out. Pull it out from the water or pull it out from the slope. If you have a very short cable, you will need to go down the slope. So that is one of the reasons why you need to have a very long cable for the wire board. Set